Good evening, everyone. I'm Tomás Gómez Arias. I'm the Dean of the College of Business Administration, and I want to give you a warm welcome to Champions of the American Dream at Stanislaus State. Thank you all for being here and for your support. Thank you. This program, Champions of the American Dream, is Norm Porges' brainchild and has continued with his support and the support of the Porges Family Foundation since 1997. So this is what, 25 years now? Yeah, did I get the math right? Yeah, yes, 25 years. Yeah. It recognizes individuals who have distinguished themselves by both being successful as leaders in business, in entrepreneurship, in the arts, or nonprofit organizations, and an exceptional and consistent record of engagement and giving back to the Central Valley communities. Before I introduce this year's honoree and the format of the event, I would like to introduce Dr. Ellen Junn, 11th President of Stanislaus State. President Junn.
I think I have my microphone on. Thank you. Thank you, Dean Tomás. Good evening, everyone. I am so proud and happy to have you all here celebrating this 2020 Champions of the Dream event. And as we begin, I want to let you know we have a new tradition that is to respectfully acknowledge that Stanislaus State is located on the traditional lands of the Yokuts Nation. Our campus is built on the unceded ancestral land of these indigenous tribes. So thank you for allowing us to honor the Yokuts and give our gratitude to their ancestors and descendants for their constant and careful stewardship of this land. So once again, good evening, and we're so excited to welcome you to tonight's Champions of the American Dream. First, I have to say, it is just incredibly wonderful to be able to look into this great audience and see everyone here in person, not on Zoom screens, not on one-dimensional, two-dimensional. So thank you for coming out and braving the traffic. I hear the 99 was backed up on the way here today. So we are very elated that you're here with us tonight. I want to thank Dean Tomás, the College of Business Administration, the Division of University Advancement, and the Porges Family Foundation for their roles in sponsoring and organizing tonight's event. Champions of the American Dream would not exist without the incomparable and effervescent Norm Porges and his brilliant son, Evan. As you heard, Champions of the American Dream started 25 years ago, and when I came to campus and I saw the gallery of prior recipients, I said, wow, what is this? So we brought it back, and thank you, Norm and Evan, for the Family Foundation to bring this very important event back to the campus. This is so important because Norm and Evan understand the transformative power of higher education to inspire and support the next generation, future generations of students in thinking about moving forward with entrepreneurship and in their professional success by listening to the stories and the experiences of prior highly successful entrepreneurs from our region, right? So that's why tonight's event is especially important. Not only are Norm and Evan innovative entrepreneurs, they are exemplary citizens who believe passionately in paying it forward and generously giving back to our community. So a big round of applause for them. Now, more recently, during the COVID days, which are usually more difficult times for universities, Evan and Norm stepped forward and made a $250,000 gift to Stanislaus State, to our campus, to establish what we call the Warrior Entrepreneurship Initiative. It's a comprehensive pilot program designed to inspire, strengthen, and grow a robust culture of entrepreneurship both at the university and throughout the Central Valley. So in addition to the Champions of the American Dream, this Warrior Entrepreneurship Initiative includes several new components, all of which are designed to build powerful and innovative entrepreneurial opportunities that will continue at the Central Valley's Economic Development Plan. And one of these components is something called the Entrepreneurship in Residence program. This will engage successful, experienced business practitioners in providing mentorship and sharing their expertise on a volunteer basis. And we are so honored that Evan has graciously is serving as one of our inaugural Entrepreneurships in Residence. So thank you, Evan. Evan and Norm, we are indebted to you for this transformative initiative, and we thank you from the bottom of our hearts for your passion, your creativity, and your generosity. We love you. Thank you. Okay, with that, we are so excited tonight to hear from this year's champion of the American Dream, Honoree Marian Kaanon, President and CEO of the Stanislaus Community Foundation. Now, Marian is a familiar face to many of you because she's been an ardent supporter not just of our campus, but also of the county and the entire city, both at Modesto and at Turlock. She has a powerful commitment to the importance of education and higher education as well. So this evening marks her return to Champions of the American Dream stage, where she served in the role last year, in 2020 actually it was, as the lively moderator for our virtual champions that year. Now, while Dean Tomas will formally introduce her next, I'm sorry, I could not stop from getting off this stage without saying a few words about Marianne, because she has been just an absolute joy to have gotten to know her, and I met her just shortly after I arrived at Turlock with Lynn Dickerson assisting me. Where's Lynn? Also helping me to get to meet some of the wonderful people here in the community. So I have gotten to know her both as a professional as well as now a dear colleague and a friend. Now, I know all of you will enjoy hearing her captivating and unique personal story, her life story, and her journey. And I've watched and worked with Marianne over the last 6 years, and I can tell you that she is a dazzling visionary. She's a fearless leader who lives life with also tremendous warmth, joy, and laughter, because she has a very deeply grounded sense of humanity, inclusion, and humility. She possesses keen intellect, is a matchless and engaging orator, and a community-based, action-oriented change agent. And on top of this, she's a dedicated and devoted mother to her beautiful children, Olivia and Luke. You can wave, there they are. And her sister, I understand, I found out tonight, our sister Junn and Raymond were students here at Stan State. They fell in love, got married, and now they're both anesthesiologists down in Modesto. So we have another warrior connection. So it's so wonderful to be here with her father. Wave your hand, Father, Dad, there he is. So we have the whole family here, and I want to just say thank you. That's the other thing I love about Stan State is we're a family. It feels like a family, our campus, our community, and I thank you again for being here. So tonight, as an immigrant herself, Marianne, her story showcases the courage and perseverance that she's had in building a very successful career that now actually impacts tens of thousands of residents here in Stanislaus County and beyond. Just as an example, we are now engaged in a groundbreaking initiative called Stanislaus 2030 that will partner to try and raise the economic level and mobility of everybody, including underserved throughout the entire county, and now also including Merced. UC Merced has also been involved. So I know we are all looking forward to hearing her moving and powerful story, and I know that it will resonate with you and inspire many of the students that are here tonight to find their passion, their entrepreneurial spirit, and move on. So again, thank you for joining us today as we celebrate Stanislaus State's 2022 Champion of the American Dream, Honoree Marian Kaanon. And Dean Tomas, please come back. Thank you.
Thank you, President Junn. Marian Kaanon needs very little introduction, but I will try. She is the president and CEO of the Stanislaus Community Foundation. A first-generation Assyrian American, Marian was born in Iraq and immigrated with her family to Canada at age 7, and then to the US as a high school student. After graduating from UC Davis, you went too far away, Marianne. She began a career that spanned broadcast journalism. I didn't know that until I read it. Public affairs and nonprofit management. She joined Stanislaus Community Foundation as their CEO in late 2012. The Stanislaus Community Foundation is a place-based funder that provides grants and scholarships to community organizations in Stanislaus County. To date, the organization has invested over $25 million in local nonprofits and over $4 million in scholarships to students. During Marian's tenure, Stanislaus Community Foundation has tripled its assets under management. The Stanislaus Community Foundation has led initiatives and supported programs in education, economic opportunity, and civic engagement. The foundation co-founded and leads the Cradle to Career Partnership, a multi-sector movement aimed at boosting outcomes for more than 110,000 children and young adults in the region. There's more. In 2015, Marian was named the Outstanding Woman for Stanislaus County. In 2017, she was named Distinguished Alumna of the Year for Modesto Junior College, the youngest person ever to be so honored. Until this year, oh, darn it. Don't tell anyone. In 2018, she was the recipient of the Modesto Chamber of Commerce Distinguished Service Award, and she serves as an advisor to the Charles Mott Foundation Chair at the Lilly School of Philanthropy at Indiana State University. Please join me in a round of applause as Marian takes her seat. We promised you a fireside chat, or candlelight chat. Who better than to chat with than Evan Porges? Evan was born in Chicago, Illinois, before moving to Modesto in 1984. After graduating from Downey High School, she went far away also, Arizona State University, where she graduated with a degree in political science in 1991. Shortly after graduating, Evan joined a small startup company called Prime Shine Express Car Wash that his father had just opened. And he literally grew up in the car wash business and is proud to have been a vital part in creating the Prime Shine culture, brand, and system that was recognized as an industry leader. Prior to its December 2018 sale to, do we tell the name of? No, why bother? Someone. Some other company. Yeah. Prime Shine was the largest privately owned car wash chain in California and the 15th largest car wash chain in the country. In addition to guiding Prime Shine for almost 30 years, Evan has found much enjoyment and reward in donating his time and talent to local nonprofit agencies and community activities. He has served as president of the Del Rio Country Club Board of Directors, president of the Board of Directors for Presidio Captive Insurance Company, and chairman of the Board of Directors for the Gallo Center for the Arts. And there's more. He's not retired yet. He enjoys doing what he wants to do rather than what he has to do. And I hope I can reach, actually I like what I'm doing, but don't tell anyone. Don't tell President Junn that I like this. And what he likes to do right now is community work and enjoying a round of golf and traveling with his wife, Leah. Thank you for joining us, Evan. Please, take your seat. After the fire chat, we are going to have some questions and answers. When you entered, you should have received a card like this, and if not, some of my colleagues around the room will have them, so you can ask them for one. So as you get inspired during the fireside chat, if you have questions, just write them down in one of these cards and pass them to the sides, where one of my colleagues or even myself we'll pick them up and we will use them for the Q&A session afterwards. And with that, now let's hear it from Marian Kaanon. Thank you.
Hello, hello, hello. After the president and the dean, I'm not sure what we're supposed to talk about, Marian.
Yeah, we didn't even prepare.
Kind of went through our whole deal.
We could do a comedy show.
Are you nervous?
A little bit.
A little nervous. Don't be nervous.
Yeah, but we always have great conversations. You're going to get a bird's eye view into the typical conversations the two of us have.
Interviewing Marian is you give one question and then 30 minutes later we have to
Where's
stop.
Chuck Grover? He would agree with that.
But when we had breakfast, Norm and I had breakfast with Marian and said to you, hey,
right.
Guess what? You're the next champion of the American dream. She said, but what? I'm not a business person. I'm not an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
I don't give back to the community. Then we started crying, and just dawned on me that it was really interesting that that was your perspective of what an entrepreneur is, because you fit the definition to a T. And tonight's conversation, I think everyone, hopefully even yourself, will understand that you're a champion of the American dream. So with that, I know that you have had a very interesting journey that landed yourself here in the Central Valley. So why don't you give the audience a little insight into what it was like for Marian making her way to the United States?
Yeah, that's a great question, Evan. Yeah, as you heard from Tomas, from the dean, I was born in Iraq. I'm a Syrian, and our family, my dad made the very difficult decision with my mom to leave everything behind at the time. I'm going to try to do this without crying. But those of you that are children of immigrants, especially those of us that actually have migrated with our parents, not necessarily just born here and heard the story of migration, but actually experienced it as young kids, as my older sister and I did, we actually lived through the experience of what they lost so that we could gain something in return. So, to answer a later question, I think is probably inevitable, is what drives my sisters and I. I have a younger sister as well that was born in Athens. It's this idea that our parents really sacrificed their own financial well-being so that we could live in a country that had the freedom to achieve that level of well-being. Whether some of us agree or not that pursuit of that well-being is tarnished and maybe harder in 22 America, it's certainly more possible than Iraq in 2022. And so we left when I was 5 and my sister was 7, and we went first to London, tried to seek asylum to the US, couldn't, so then we moved to Athens, Greece, and that's where we lived for almost 2 years. I'm looking at my dad to confirm that. And my little sister, as I mentioned, was born there. And we lived sort of in the refugee area of Athens and experienced that, that daily sort of struggle, didn't speak the language, just trying to, the Greek people were incredibly generous. I want to say that to Mike Zagaris. It was like being with our own people, but it still wasn't our native country. And so that was a struggle. And then we ended up getting accepted for asylum in Canada. And so imagine Iraq to Canada is like night and day. We got there in December and ended up in Calgary. And my parents hadn't seen that kind of snow ever. They had a 7-year-old and an 8.5-year-old. Again, didn't speak the language. They had a 2-year-old daughter. And we lived in a basement at first. And World Relief, I remember, would come and bring us, food in boxes. And that's how we started. And learned English, took ESL classes, and slowly made our way. 5 years later, at the end of middle school in Canada, my older sister and I were competing and winning regional speech and debate competitions. So I think my earliest memory, Evan, from just that experience of migration and being an immigrant is I remember vividly as a young child not being able to communicate and thinking to myself, once I learn to communicate, you all are never
You haven't stopped.
I'm never going to stop. Just recognizing both my sister and I, especially my older sister, the power of the written and spoken word. And so when people say, you're a powerful orator, as President Junn said, it really is rooted in that sense as a young kid of like, gosh, knowing how to communicate is my key in this new country. So I got to figure it out quick. And so that was really, I think, a superpower that both my sister and I have, is this ability to communicate. We don't take that lightly. number one. Number two, the experience of actually migrating with our parents and vividly seeing what they sacrificed so that we could gain. It's not even a negotiable thing that we're going to be successful or work hard. It's not even, it's like the air we breathe. It's what it was instilled in us because we experienced it firsthand with our parents.
And that was my second question as your Assyrian background. So how did that culture, how do you think growing up in that environment, that culture, what's drilled into you, how did that lead you to where you're at? What's that Assyrian culture like?
Well, and there's probably Assyrians. Who's Assyrian in the room right now? Thank you, my Assyrian peeps. We are in Turlock after all. I walked by, we had lunch here on Friday and walked by several Assyrian students and they were speaking Aramaic. And I was like, oh, that's right, I'm in Turlock. It's beautiful. And it's the reason we actually came from Canada to Modesto when I was in high school, as Tomas said, was my parents always ultimately wanted to end up with our community, our culture. It's very important to them for us to be with Assyrian people. But I will tell you, Evan, when you meet an Assyrian, they don't just introduce themselves. They introduce themselves and then tell you whose son or daughter they are, whose cousin they are, whose aunts and uncles they are. And we're tribal culture, so I would say, Babi ile Tiarayo, Yemi ile Berbernetha. So they know the Assyrian people, you identify by your tribe,
There's
too.
only a few people laughing. I'm not sure if I knew what that meant.
But what that means is you sort of place yourself in an interconnected web of relationships. And for us as Assyrians, we don't just identify as an individual, sort of that rugged individualism of the United States. We identify ourselves as part of an interconnected web of relationships. And I will tell you that's another thing that if people were to say, well, what is it about Marian Kaanon? I'll speak about myself in the third person now. It's that I really genuinely see my colleagues that are in the audience, my friends, as part of a family that I belong to. Because that's just how I see myself. I don't see myself as Marian Kaanon. I mean, really, there should be several couches up here with all of these people and Amanda, and like, these are my people, my tribe, So I think it's the way I was raised, my culture, it's warm. There's no holds bar, we kind of speak very directly.
And I guess what I'm getting at is, that's how you run the business. Very,
yes.
I'll say tribal, but putting relationships together and teams together, and that's how you've done it. At
Sometimes we fight like family.
Amanda, is that true?
Amanda would say yes. But it's really that sort of, we don't ever meet strangers in the Assyrian community. We just meet other family members. And I think that's also caused my worldview to be, we're all interconnected in a web of relationships in this community. Interesting. And so all of you, if you're sitting in the audience and maybe you have some questions, write them down. The dean saw that he mentioned earlier that you'll have an opportunity. Some of these questions are coming from you that you submitted earlier. But some of these earlier thoughts and questions, Marian, is more about you personally, and then we'll get into a little bit more of the Community Foundation and the business side of it. But you've already touched on it, but are there some specific challenges that you can point to in your life that you're saying, that helped me become who I am today? Yeah. I think I've faced professional challenges similar to all of what you might have faced, a project that didn't go the way I wanted. But I will tell you probably if we want to talk about challenges, I think the biggest myth, and I will say this for the students in the audience, is, and I truly mean this, and I think the other past American champions would say the same thing, there is no such thing as failure. The only thing that's a failure is you thinking it is, and you not leaning into the failure to learn from it and mine it for the gold that it provides you. So when you realize, gosh, even the biggest failure, Marianne, that I could possibly imagine is not a failure if I learned from it, and I would say yes, that's freedom, my friends. That's liberation. To take risk, to do the things you've imagined yourself doing, to put a foot out and try something new, to innovate. Because when you recognize there is no safety net and there is no failure, it really allows you the opportunity. You're going to learn even from your biggest failure. But what I would tell you, where I have failed, Evan, is when I failed to recognize the humanity of the person standing in front of me. That's probably where I've gotten a little too egoic, a little too lost my humility certain times, and sort of acted from that place of ego. And inevitably, I get humbled again. And that is, I think, the biggest piece for me is Any failure has been a failure of me to pay attention to the people around me and how I'm impacting them. Luckily, I've learned from that and try to be a better manager. I don't even like that word, a better team leader, but a better team member, And so that is what I would say has been a failure, is when I've failed to sort of acknowledge that.
I love that. I love that perspective, and that we're always failing, we're always learning it. But if we don't learn from it, then that's a true failure. That's a failure.
Yeah.
So you might have answered it, but maybe there's something else. And there's a lot of students in the audience, and so I'm thinking, what would you tell a 20-year-old Marian Kaanon sitting in the audience today?
Yeah.
What would you tell her? What advice would you give her?
Yeah. So I will tell you, at age 22, I landed my dream job. So Tomas mentioned, I started my career in broadcast journalism, in radio, okay? It wasn't TV. I wanted to be the
You had a face for radio.
Yeah, that's what I always said. I have a face for radio. And I went to my dad, I'm like, Baba, I've got a job in radio. And he's like, what is that going to do for you? And I'm like, just, and he would listen. Afterwards, my mom admitted to me that he would drive around and listen to me on the radio. But he never told me that. But he was secretly proud of me. You know how immigrant dads are. So he wanted to be a doctor like my sister. No chance. But I will tell you, I worked 3 jobs coming out of UC Davis, at KFBK in Sacramento, KUIC in Vacaville. I was a one-woman newsroom in the year of El Nino, and we were the emergency broadcast station in Vacaville. I was 22 years old. I had no idea what I was doing. And on Sundays, I worked at KCBS in San Francisco. So I worked 7 days a week. Finally got a full-time gig at KCBS. It was what I'd been working for a year after graduating from UC Davis. One day, I drive my Chevette. Okay, it's a Chevette. I drive it to the Embarcadero where KCBS is. I park it. I had a 2 a.m. gig. I was 22. They weren't going to give me the primetime gig. They were giving me the 2 a.m. gig as a co-editor. I parked it. I went up. I'm like, it was a towaway zone. I'm like, they're not going to tow it. It's 2 a.m. in the morning. I'll come back down 2 or 3 times during my 8-hour shift. 8 hours later, I finally remember to go check on my car. It was towed. So I call the number on the sign. I take a $25 cab ride to the tow yard. They'd slapped a $250 ticket on the car. It cost $250 to get it out of the tow yard. And I was so distraught, I ran a red light, and a cop pulled me over and gave me a ticket. So that was a 22-year-old Marianne. I got in my car. Before cell phones. I cried all the way over like bawling, like ugly cry, right? Like just bawling, snot, everything. I drive to Modesto. I don't go back to my apartment, KCBS. I call my managing editor, and I say, I quit. He's like, you can't quit. You haven't given 2 weeks' notice. I'm like, I don't care. I'm out $1,000 in one day. I only get paid $9 an hour. But that Marianne thought, I'm never going to recover from this. What's next? This was my dream, to be a radio broadcaster. I'm never going to be Christiane Amanpour, and I'm $1,000 in debt. I wish I could have told that Marianne that it's all beginning for you right in this moment. Right in this moment of your deepest despair. Again, the biggest failure, the deepest despair, the lowest low. It's always another opportunity. Just the universe, God, moving you in the direction you're meant to be in. You just got to let go and trust. And I wish that 22-year-old Marianne, and she kept going. So the hustlers of us in the room, we keep going, right? But man, there's been times when I've really questioned and doubted. But it is a meandering path. Unless you're going to be a doctor and it's very structured for you, those of us that are liberal arts majors in the audience, it's a meandering path. It really is. And I would just say, just go with it.
So the takeaway is get your car towed, and you can become a Marian Kaanon.
Maybe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. That's the big takeaway. So are you optimistic by nature then?
It's a great.
You wake up and just, I can't wait for this.
Have you prepared these questions in
Maybe.
advance? I am a naturally optimistic person. I would say yes. I always think the glass is half full. I always think our better days are ahead of us. I don't know what it's like not to live with some degree of optimism. I think most people that are entrepreneurial in nature are trying to get to, not necessarily a final destination point, but there's more to build, more to achieve, more to grow, more to learn. That to me requires an optimism, not a pessimism. It's not sort of futile. It's that our better days, something else needs to be constructed, challenging the status quo, disrupting, what's around us. That to me takes some optimism.
And maybe that's why, moving into a little different direction,
Yeah.
you've landed yourself now in this nonprofit space, giving back community hospice
That's
for a
right.
lot of years, and now here for the past 12 years with the Stanislaus Community Foundation. So how's that happen? I mean, why is that happen? Is there something inherently unique with your personality? You're optimistic. What's your take on how you landed in this space?
Yeah, I think it's rooted in my story, my origin story around my parents, and sort of this sense that we're in a country that has tremendous opportunity, and yet not everyone is able to access that opportunity. And so whatever I can do for my little corner of the world to expand that for more and more people, wow, that's a life well lived. You know, I could go work in the for-profit sector, I could do that, but to me it's never, for me personally, appealed to me. For me, the juice is in trying to help our community, better our community. So I think it is rooted in some of your earlier questions in my culture, in the sense that we belong to each other and there's a connectivity between us. There's no separation between any of us. And those of us that still think there is, we got to wake up to the reality that our fates are linked, you guys. Wow, did we ever see that in COVID? But certainly moving forward, we as a country, our success or our demise depends on our ability to be able to work with people that don't agree with us and don't even like us. And so for that, sign me up. Sign me up for that challenge, man. It's rooted in my DNA, I would say.
Told you this was going to be really easy for me.
Wind her up.
The ever-ready bunny, just kind of. So Norm actually asked this question on when he submitted, and he wanted to know if you think the skills that you've acquired and that you've so successfully are using to run a nonprofit,
Yeah.
if you decided, and now that I just rejoined the board at the Community Foundation, I don't ever want you to think that, but if you thought it might be time for you to jump into something different, are those skills transferable then into the for-profit world?
Absolutely. So I actually sit on 2 for-profit corporate boards, Doctors Medical Center and Dave Wilson Nursery, and the CEO, Bill Reed, is here. He's probably annoyed and embarrassed that I'm focused on him. So I've learned a lot from my service on for-profit boards, and I think what's interesting about the cross-pollination, the similarities, is we're relentless about the questions we ask. I see Bill do it too with his team. We're always asking a better set of questions. Why does it work that way? How's it working? Why is it failing? How do we make it better? How do we improve this process? How do we develop our team? What does our market look like? What's happening in the county? What's the state of education? Why are third graders not reading at grade level? Why are people living in poverty when we have jobs and opportunities and training programs? Why? So we ask ourselves why, and we're relentless about that. We also, I think the transferable thing is you find the rock stars like Amanda Hughes, Samantha Jones, Pai Chang, these team members that, honestly, I'm not sort of sitting up here just being lauded. These are the people that actually make this work. And they say teamwork makes the dream work. I would say dream work makes the team work, allowing this team to dream and be bold and be visionary. And I see that as transferable. Like, we're creating new things at the Community Foundation as much as we are trying to alleviate the symptoms of poverty. We're trying to be innovative, and that is very much what the for-profit leaders in this audience and others do. So, very transferable.
And I can tell you, when we're there working with you, and we've put some pretty cool programs together.
Yeah, yes.
What you've done with that team, and what you guys as a highly functional team have done, it's the same as in a for-profit world. It's
Absolutely.
actually the same. So,
and very outcomes driven.
Outcome
we try
driven,
to be,
yeah.
and it's getting the right team on the right seats on the bus, asking a better set of questions, never resting on our laurels. Always, I see organizations, a bell curve, right? And the organizations that are humming at the top of the bell curve, the way they slide into irrelevancy, they start taking things for granted. They get a little too comfortable. We always dip backwards on that entrepreneurial curve. We're always looking at risk. We're always looking at new programs. We're always, again, engaging in conversations. We find the right partners that think the way we do. I keep looking at Jody Hayes, our county CEO. They're entrepreneurial in their mindset, and they're willing to dream with us and ask questions. They don't shy away from questions. Those are the people we seek out.
I knew this was going to happen because Monica Dahl is telling me we have 5 more minutes of this.
Really? Oh,
How did this happen?
I don't know.
I don't
And I was
know.
talking fast.
I don't know how, but so quickly then.
Yes.
Why do you love this community so much?
Gosh. Well, I mean, I'll start with my family sitting in the front row. I'm trying to make this a better community, especially for my nieces. I have 4 nieces, my daughter Olivia, my son Luke. They asked me in the car, Mom, what are you going to say? And try not to embarrass us. And Luke was coaching me. He's like, try not to trip as you're walking up here. That was his biggest concern right now. I think I want this community to be a good community for them to grow up in and really succeed in. But it's also, it's hard not to love this community. We're the underdog, Ev. Like, you got to root for the underdog. We don't have the embarrassment of riches in the Silicon Valley or the coastal regions. And I know this question's coming up, but Silicon Valley and LA will look exactly the same 20 years from now. Central Valley, all bets are off. It's up to us to create the future today, and we get to play a role in it. Like, the impact in this community is outsized. There's 1,000 Marian Kaanons and Evan Porges. Maybe not as attractive as us, though. But
It's a pretty good team right here.
Yeah. I mean, let's be real.
We got a Syrian and a Jew up on stage. This
Come on.
This is
It
pretty
doesn't get any
solid. It
better.
doesn't get better than that.
I told you it would be the comedy. We bring comedy. But I definitely,
Diversity.
I love this community because we are the underdog. And it is a community that's deeply relational, man. I don't know that that's the case. We are not a transient people. We come here, we root down, we stay, and and we form these relationships
We got to get our kids to stay here.
and bring them back.
How do we do that?
I would say go conquer the world, and like we did, we went off to college, but give them a reason to come back. Like Dave Halverson's son came back. Both your sons are here. We came back. So I think, allowing that sort of, having that pull, creating jobs, that opportunity, cultural opportunities, the baseball coliseum. You like that? I plugged the baseball coliseum.
I have the microphone and promised Jody that I wasn't going to say one thing about the Great Valley Coliseum coming soon.
Poor Jody.
Thank you, Jody.
Did you sign up for this? No. He's like, leave me alone.
And there was a question by one of the students that was submitted. So pick one item. If there's something for you here, and I'll say the next year or so, that you're going to point to is going to be a game changer for our region, that you would, it's a dream item that you would hope to accomplish. What is that, Marian?
Well, we're going to have about 20, because Stanislaus 2030, our economic development initiative, is a 10-month sprint. By August, we're going to publish a blueprint with key strategies for our elected officials to fund with public dollars and seeking private investment around workforce and economic development. We are really interested in the idea of building a future economy on our existing ag economy. So supporting our ag employers, they're the lifeblood of this community, and also building around them so that they stay competitive and that we build a future economy based on their needs, but also based on a future industry aligned with ag. So I'm really excited about that because it holds tremendous potential for more jobs and higher paying jobs around those future industries. But again, really protecting our ag economy. That's a competitive advantage we have.
It's interesting, as Lynn Dickerson and I have been working on the Unknown Project. We find people that come in from out of town, developers, and we find that they are much more optimistic about our community than we are about our community.
I've heard that too.
I don't know what gives about that.
We're a little too
What's the
modest.
problem? What is it?
I think it's our roots, those of us that are either come from a cultural community or that are farmers and growers. We don't toot our own horn. So it's woven into both the subcultures of this community and also through our economy. But it's time that changes. I can tell you there should be more pride in what's happening in this community. And again, this community will look very different. Silicon Valley, homogenous. It'll look exactly the same. It's grown out. It's doing its thing. This is where it's going to be at 20 years from now. I really believe that. And now.
We're a giving community?
We are a giving community. I think we need to push on the innovation when it comes. You've done that. Evan and Norm have done that with your philanthropy. I think our philanthropists need to build more, and sort of invest with their philanthropy and not take off their business hat and just put on their charitable bleeding heart, but really think as business people around how we improve this community and steward this community. I'm excited about that. That's certainly the role we play at the Community Foundation.
Thank you.
Before we leave, can I do some shout outs to people?
Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, I just want to, speaking of risk, thank Mike Ginelli, where is he? There he is, and Jeff Grover and Lynn Dickerson for taking a risk on me and hiring me at the Community Foundation. That was a really important thing. They saw something and they mentored me early on. I want to thank Bill Jackson. He signs my paycheck. So he's my boss and the chair of my board, incredible leader. I want to thank the previous champions. To be in their company is huge. I hold these men in very high esteem, and there's a woman too. I was trying to figure out if I was the youngest. I think my thing is I'm the youngest champion for a while, and then someone else will come along. But Mike Zagaras, Norm Porges, Jeff Grover, Jose Rodriguez, and Dave Halverson. And these are not just men that have come before me in this. They are all men that I have a relationship with, that have spoken wisdom to me, that hold me accountable and say, you can either do better, work harder, or hey kid, you're doing okay, but still work better and do better things. So that's huge for me. I want to thank my friends in the audience, so Lynn and Ron and Kristen and Catherine and Ivan, my colleagues and friends, Amanda, Pi, Samantha. I want to thank my kids. I want to thank Ellen and Michelle and Monica and the incredible team here at Stan State, Tomas. I want to thank all of our family members that come to these events and actually act interested and love us, so thank you for that. And I want to thank all of my board members that have come before or currently, like Randy and others. So I'm not here just for myself. I mean, like on my own. It really is this connection.
It's the humility in you. I love it.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. But we're not letting you go quite yet. There are some more questions that we have from the audience. Dean, do you have some questions?
Yes, we do have questions indeed. This is a deep one. What is your greatest fear?
Flying. Believe it or not, I'm going to tell you something. I had not flown in 18 years. So in December, I got on a plane with Catherine Larson and took some, I got, like comfy, and I flew from Oakland to San Diego. And on Thursday, I'm going to do it again for the second time in 18 years. So, what's interesting is all the books you read, all this stuff about feel the fear and do it anyway. It's actually true. You could have fear, but don't let the fear drive in the front seat. Put it in the back seat, and then you drive and let the fear just tag along. But yeah,
like what you said about failure.
That was huge, and failure too. Failure, it has its place. It's here to inform you.
It drives you.
Shouldn't run the show.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah.
So that's my fear. Flying.
All right. Another question. There are some students, actually plenty of students here. Is there any recommendation, advice you would give to a 22-year-old, 20-year-old, 25-year-old finishing their degree about what is next? How to think about that first job, that first starting their professional life?
Yeah. I remember doing a lot of coffee clatches with people that were a few steps ahead of me in their professional career, lunches, coffee. Most people won't turn down the opportunity to meet with someone to tell them. They love talking about themselves. So you reaching out, by all means, and you could do that with me, anyone I've mentioned. I'm going to out all of them here, including Evan. We're happy to meet with you. So that's one, just getting to know people's experiences and stories. Internships are huge. That I would really encourage, certainly worked for me, because I didn't have a professional network. I didn't have parents that could find me that job or land me that apprenticeship or internship, so it was sort of on me. And so I would encourage that. I also will say, from a philosophical or spiritual standpoint, what I would tell the 20-year-old Marian, what I would tell all of you is never underestimate the power of paying attention, especially in today's distracted world. There is a superpower in being attentive to the person that's standing in front of you. As I was walking in, I surprised someone by remembering their last name. Of course I'm going to remember their last name. I paid attention to him when I met him the first time. And I think we forget, we get really transactional in today's world. Pay attention. It is a superpower these days. People will remember you because you gave them your complete and undivided attention. That is powerful. Hi, John and Jeannie Ferrari, I see you. Sorry, there's so many friends in the audience.
You're funny.
I am funny.
Have you Have you always been funny? Is she always been funny, Dad?
She doesn't think I'm funny. My
No?
kids are shaking their.
She's
I
not always
laugh
been
at my
funny?
own jokes. They
Are
don't.
you not funny at home?
I'm funny, Olivia, Luke, Jan. So I will tell you, Evan and I this is what I appreciate about Evan too. So I take my work very seriously. I don't take myself seriously. And there's something to be said about people that may have achieved some sort of power or stature who still are like, oh yeah, I'm just this person trying to do this thing and it's bigger than me. And so we're very self-deprecating at the Community Foundation. There's also a power imbalance. We have access to wealth, and we have access to people that have wealth among our donors, but we try to disarm the conversation so we can have an honest conversation so people don't clam up when they have access to wealth. So we take that self-deprecating sort of humor. It's part of our we don't take ourselves seriously. Gosh, the world is serious enough, man. Might as well laugh at yourself. We were playing like songs driving down here, they're trying to right now con me into McDonald's after this. Like, it's all good.
It's got to be helpful in the stressful work you do too.
Absolutely.
So you and your team have a good time.
Yes.
Part of having a successful team is also having fun with that team.
And the occasional cuss word gets thrown around.
I suspect
it's hard work.
I suspect your quarter jar is pretty full.
Pretty full.
I would
Yes.
I would think.
I would say yes, those that know me.
Dean,
Not my kids, though. I don't swear, Olivia Lukes. They know. Yeah.
Another question, Dean?
What are your favorite swear words? No.
Please.
When do you know it's time to change jobs?
Oh, that's good. You always know internally when it's time. I think it's when it's not a question of competence or passion for the mission. You just don't feel challenged anymore. Those of us that are entrepreneurial in our mindset, we drive our own selves. We're not looking for external people to drive us. Like Bill's always telling me, just slow down. You don't have to do all this overnight. I think when you lose that challenge, that sense of like building something, that's when I sort of opt out.
You almost answered this one, but who inspires you other than your family? Your parents. That's not fair
My
game.
sister just went.
We know they inspire you, but who else inspires you?
Gosh, I mean, every person in this room, whether I know your story or not, the fact that you're here tonight, you all have done hard things in your lives, and that is the human experience that's universal that we forget about each other. We all have an origin story. We all have something we've overcome or are overcoming right now. That's an inspiration. Sitting across from someone and finding that commonality. There's grief in this room. There's hardship in this room. There's loss in this room. To sit across from someone and pay attention, that's probably going to be my motto in life. People inspire me. They really do. I will tell you, at the Community Foundation, people that are struggling and living in poverty and still getting up and trying to do better and be better for their kids and the next generation, they inspire me. We should drop our narratives about what it means to be the working poor in this country, in 22 America. We really need to stop. We saw it during COVID, who really were essential workers, and I think we need to drop our judgments and assumptions about what the poor carry and what it takes to live day to day in this country. So if we're not inspired by that, I'm not sure we can be moved by anything.
So Dean, do you have any other questions, or would you like me to?
I think this is going to be the last one.
I have a final after you.
What's my sign?
So see, this is the semi-final.
I'm on stage, so I get the final.
Yeah. Okay. This is the semi-final.
Okay.
Have you figured out what you want in life, or do you think, and what it was, how do you figure it out? And if not, do you think you will ever figure it out?
That's a really good question. I don't know. I don't think I want anymore to just be happy. That I know, because happiness is an emotion and it's fleeting. We're never always just happy. I think I want to arrive at a place where I'm content and at ease, like just at ease with what is, and not feeling my own sort of clinging or pushing away, grasping. I just want to be at ease with my life and where it is. That's to me achieving something. Yeah.
We kind of tend to end with this question with all the champions, but we love the different perspectives. Is it alive and well, the American dream? Are your kids going to get it? The students going to get it? You talked about, the working poor and the challenges. Are they going to get it? Tell us, Marian. You're in it every day trying to figure it out. So is it alive and well?
I think for the first time in American history, the majority of children will not outlive their parents' income within their generation. And that's there. All the data backs that up. That's not me sort of speaking, preaching from on high. The data shows that there are many more children today that will not actually surpass their parents' income level as they grow up. And it's based on zip code. So it's actually a geography of poverty. There are children in Stanislaus County that don't have access to, good schools, nutritious meals, recreational activities, safe neighborhoods, sidewalks and walking paths, all of the things that maybe my children and my nieces would take for granted. So the American dream is alive and well for some of us, not all of us. And if we have some storyline about why, I would just ask us to examine that and disrupt it. But certainly the data shows that we are slipping backwards. That doesn't mean it can't happen. It just means we need to think differently about what it's going to take. It is possible, but it can't happen through ideological divides, and it's certainly not going to happen at the federal level. I'm sorry. Our federal folks are not, DC is not going to solve our problems. I don't even know that Sacramento is going to solve our problems. That's why I love working at the Community Foundation. We are relentlessly local in our solutions, just like the university is relentlessly focused on educating local students. So the only solution that's possible is in this room. And I would encourage all of you to get really clear on your sphere of impact, you guys. It's not global. Let's be real. Mine isn't. Mine, if I can touch 30 people at the end of my life and truly impact their lives, that is a life well spent. And if each of you did that, the ripple effect is amazing. But get really clear on your sphere of influence and your sphere of impact. And it is more local than you might think. That's what I would say.
You are incredibly impressive. We love you. Can't believe that you didn't think that you were a champion of the American dream, an entrepreneur. Thank you so much for all your wisdom and your insight. I learned a ton just having this conversation. Ladies and gentlemen, our champion of the American dream, Marian Kaanon. So with that, I'm going to step down and pass it along to the dean or the president.
Yes.
Or both.
You, yep.
I'm going to step down.
You can step down. No, Marian, you stay up there. Thank you, Marian. That's moments like this. One feels really proud to be among all of you in the Central Valley. And at this point, I would like to invite President Junn to come to the stage to present Marian Kaanon with her award.
Thank you. So, before I present the award to Marian, I wanted to give a special recognition to all of the other prior champions of the American Dream who are here with us today. So you can see who the illustrious company that you are now joining. So can I please have David Halverson, Norm Porges, Michael Segarras, Jose Rodriguez, and Jeff Grover please come to the stage. Good to see you. Oh, Mike, thank you so much. Thank you
very much.
Cry.
I know, thank you. Thank you. So now you see what illustrious company you are among, and you are our newest, most recent inductee into this Hall of Fame. Yes, youngest.
Just kidding.
She's the prettiest.
No. Oh, wow.
So let me officially provide you with the trophy that says Champions of the American Dream, honoring the entrepreneurial and community spirit of innovation leaders from the Central Valley. May 3rd, 2022, Marian, Kaanon. So please, Junn. Thank you. Very good.
Thank you. Right.
Would you like to say anything more words then, Dean Tomas?
Well, not really many more words, because there have been plenty of words, and great words, and excellent words, and there isn't much more I can add. So, but what I can say is thank you. Thank you to all of you for being here, for participating, and for being part of the American dream in your own way, and paying it forward, making it happen every day. Because this is not a point in time. The American dream is about a process. It's about pursuing it. I want to thank the Porges Family Foundation for their support. I want to thank all my colleagues who have been instrumental in making this happen and bringing you all here. And thank you to the champions who have come back, and they keep giving back to the community. And what we are going to do is take a few pictures here. We will take an opportunity to do that. And you will have an opportunity, if you want to have a little one-on-one chat with Marian after the pictures, please come forward. You can also, there's a lot of talent on this stage.
Yes.
So please, they are well signed. They have the little, what do you call that thing?
Boutonniere.
Boutonniere?
Yeah.
Flowers. It's a flower. Yeah,
That's great.
I'm sorry. I know only two colors, black and white. Everything else is a flower. So I encourage you to reach out to them and pick their brains. They have a lot of experience that you can use. And with that, thank you all. It's been a pleasure. Thank you for all your contributions to the Central Valley, the past ones and the future ones. Thank you all. Thank you for being here. And I will see you next year. Many of you.
Congratulations.